What's up, guys? It's Question the Quote here today. I'm Joey.
I'm Luke.
This is Luke, and we were discussing the topic of jealousy, actually, and that's kind of what we're going to cover in this video today for you guys. We think that, we were talking actually, we think that a lot of guys don't, they allow jealousy to take over their emotions when it comes to men and women relationships, because we're going to be talking in jealousy in the form of the interaction between a man and a woman, and really, by definition, jealousy is basically just not feeling adequate enough.
Yeah, not feeling adequate. Getting triggered when someone, brings up something that makes you insecure. A lot of times we see that with lower value men.
You could also say the triggers. It's really trigger. It's a form of
like
trigger.
A trigger point
and if it's something that you have a problem with, it can trigger you. Actually, I like to put it that way. That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely jealousy. A lot of women use this to gauge a man's value. So whether it's early on in interactions, you're talking to a girl at the bar, or even later on in like a LTR, long-term, relationship.
And with that being said, you're basically saying there's two different ways women will use jealousy, right? They'll use it kind of in the beginning of the relationship.
Yeah, beginning to kind of gauge like a man's value and where you're at, and then later, almost as a form of seeing how invested you are. I think you kind of can agree later in a relationship. They use it to see how much you care.
Basically to test the relationship equity. They want to see how much the relationship means to you, basically, right? And again, they can do this in a subconscious way. They can do it in a conscious way. There's really no strict rules to how they really act, but there are certain ways and certain scenarios that they do act in, and those are kind of the two ways that they use jealousy. Whether again they're doing it or they don't know they're doing it. So a lot of
times it is subconscious because women. Innately they use it because they get approached by a lot of different guys. They need to gauge if you're high value or not. They need to flush through all the crappy guys out there and make sure you are high value and you're the one for them. So it's not, don't be offended when you get a jealousy, shit test thrown at you. It happens. Pretty much every girl I've talked to has used some form of jealousy to see my reaction.
And with those being the two ways they use it, and why they use it, I guess, there's ways to combat it, right? There's things you'd want to do and things you don't want to do, right? I mean, like, an example would be you want to maintain frame, and you want to maintain frame in the actual relationship, but you always want to maintain frame in that specific scenario. You want to make sure that, number one, you don't get emotional, right?
You don't want to get emotional.
You be logical. You want to be logical and think rational. This is the thing, guys, is you got to understand men have the ability to think rationally, or not rationally. They have the ability to think logically, I guess. They also think rationally. Not necessarily.
As opposed to emotionally or getting triggered.
When it comes to men and women. Like women can think logically, but not when it comes to man-women interactions, basically, or male-female interactions.
A lot of times it's emotionally based.
It's always coming from an area of emotion, and not only that, it's also a reaction, right? They're not just taking action; it's a reaction to something you do. Because a lot of the times they don't really act upon certain things. It's a reaction to something they see, either some type of social cue or something you've done, either the past week, the last minute. It could have been anything.
Right.
So you kind of just have to look at the bigger picture and just don't let your ego take over either, right? You got to think what's happening. Men are problem solvers, so you have to be able to do that problem solving and take those steps.
And not get triggered or anything by one of these tests, because it's all emotion on their part and you're going to be countering it logically. I think the biggest thing, we'll kind of jump into more how to combat it. So first off, obviously, let's say a girl brings up a funny coworker or a guy friend, whatever, what have you, someone in the environment. I think the best way to combat it is to be non-reactive. You don't want to, throw up your arms or, get all, triggered and be like,
play it off, right?
You play it off, laugh, smile, change the subject.
And I like you bring up the point of, Luke will bring up the point, I should say, of how some guys will sexually disqualify. You can talk about that, how some guys will sexually disqualify.
I know first starting off, when I was younger, I would always try and sexually disqualify someone. Like, if a girl I was seeing at the time said a certain guy was really attractive, it would be like, oh, he must be gay, or, just sexually disqualify. And that, honestly, I feel like shows more insecurity than anything.
It shows a weakness,
for sure. That's you putting down someone else. You don't want to be putting down someone else. I've even, there'll be times I'll say, yeah, that's a really good-looking guy. Laugh about it, change the subject, move on. that shows you're confident in yourself and you don't have to put down others to
Exactly.
try and make yourself look better.
So with that being said, I mean, we could have some takeaway points. Would be main. I mean, I guess the main points are, know what jealousy is when it comes to men and women relationships. Know why women are using it in the scenarios, the two ways that they are using it, and then just have ways to be able to combat it. And when we say combat, you're not fighting, but it's a mental game between you and yourself, right? You're like, it's between your logic and your emotion, basically, internally.
Realizing
and then
what's
you want
going
to
on, for sure. Realize, when she brings it up, what's really going on, beneath the curtain there, subconsciously, and then you want to react to it logically. Don't let your ego get in the way or anything like that. Laugh it off and keep going.
And with that being said, guys, hit a sub if you guys like what you see. Like the video as well. We have our email down below. It's questionthequo@gmail.com. You can send us anything you want. You can ask questions. We'll be happy to make videos. We love doing this in regards to being the best version of yourself, men and women relationships and fitness, all that stuff, health, fitness. We love making these for you guys. So that's about it, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah,
Bye, guys.
see it. That was good.
That was really good. That was perfect. Like,
That was just very nonchalant, straight to it.
Just straight to it, yeah.